Hello friends, and welcome to Life in Envelopes. I am Jennifer Bleecher. In today's vlog, it's going to be a little different because my parents were visiting me this week, and although I did film a lot, I never sat down to do a chat with you guys like I normally do throughout the week. So I have a lot of footage, but I never sit down and talk with you. So I'm going to talk with you now and let you know about everything that was happening. So first of all, even though my parents were visiting me, I still needed to work. So every opportunity I got, I squeezed in time to fill orders. I printed stickers, I did everything I normally do. So print stickers, cut stickers, fill orders. And I actually had a sticker release on Saturday. All of the new December designs are out for all of the planners. Last weekend we released all the budget stickers, so this weekend was all the planner stickers. So that includes the universal kit, which works in an ERIN CONDREN 7x9 as well as other planners as well. And then it also includes the classic happy planner and the Budget Mom Budget Mom Live Rich planner in the small size and the large size. So those are all the planner kits that I make. I will include a slideshow at the end of this video showing you all the new kits that came out. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. So we also continued to do homeschool this week. This week we were learning about the Salem witch trials, which were absolutely fascinating. We were reading a kid's book about the Salem witch trials, thank goodness, because that was like brutal enough. But wow, what a fascinating time in our history. So in addition to homeschool this week, I did try to spend as much time as possible with my parents. I did have some one-on-one time with my mom, and then on accident, although I think we both had a good time, my stepdad and I spent a lot of time together because I had a little house problem this week, and I will show you some footage of that. So there was a little flood. You can see it on the mirror there. There was a flood happening, and it just totally destroyed my ceiling. So my stepdad and I went in and we took out a big chunk of the ceiling so that we could see where the water was coming from before we called a plumber. I got to use a hammer and smash it in under his guidance. It was really fun. And then he went in and made those straight lines. So it's a little bit more cleaned up. But this is something that we're going to patch when he gets back in December. But this time we were just working on the plumbing and getting the plumbing issue fixed before anything else. So one of the evenings that my parents were here, we went over to a local pumpkin patch, and this pumpkin patch is so incredible. They have so many fun little activities for kids to do. Like this is called the corn pool, and both of my boys, even though, you know, they're older, they still wanted to do it. They still want to do everything. Actually, it was really funny. At first, it was just going to be Logan, my mom, and I. And then Papa Bob, that's my stepdad, Papa Bob heard what we were doing. He's like, I want to go. So we're like, of course you can come. So he came. And then Jacob heard what we were doing. And he was like, I want to go. So Jacob came as well. So it turned into a much bigger family outing than I originally planned. Originally, it was just going to be Logan and I. And we put it off until Grandma Carol, arrived so that she could go with us. Papa Bob, he works from home the same way I do, and he can take his work with him, so he always does some work while he's here. And I assumed he'd be working, but he was able to take some time off and join us, and that was so cool. And having Jacob join us was so cool too. It's funny because we don't think Jacob ever got to go to this pumpkin patch before. None of us can remember him ever going to this pumpkin patch. Logan's been many times. When my parents lived here, when they lived in Des Moines, they took Logan all the time, every year, to this pumpkin patch. But Jacob was at that like middle school, high school age then, where he just wanted to hang out with his friends all the time and not go to a pumpkin patch with his grandparents. So he's now like he's 21, and he's more of a like, if he has time to hang out with us, he does, which is so nice, so lovely to have him back and spending time with us. I did get some really cool still shots, like so closer up pictures. You can just see the smile on Jacob's face, like he's having so much fun. I absolutely love it. I love to see my kids full of joy. It makes me so happy. So here's like a bouncy thing that they could do, but actually I think Logan was the only one that like met the required height and weight to do it. So he's the only one that actually did it. And then they had this huge slide. So we have Logan on the left, Jacob in the center, and Papa Bob on the right. And they actually did it twice. And Jacob and Papa Bob figured out if you lay down, you go much faster. But Logan was trying to make a sail like in a sail ship, but it didn't quite sail. The sail wasn't quite as big as he thought it was going to be, but still looked like he was having a ton of fun. And then Jacob decided, my boys are so goofy, he decided he wanted to be a pumpkin. So he joined the pumpkin patch. And then Logan's like, yeah, I want to be a pumpkin too. So then Logan joined the pumpkin patch. So here are my two little pumpkins. And then we got a really cute picture of Grandma Carol and Papa Bob on the bench here. Logan's still being a pumpkin. So here's the picture of them. And then we went and did a corn maze, and Jacob and I were laughing because he was so tall for that like little thing, like you're supposed to put your face in the corn, and he was just so tall, his head came up above it. So Jacob, Logan, and Papa Bob actually ended up doing the corn maze, and I'm glad I didn't. They said it was kind of scary, like you kind of felt like you were going to get stuck in there forever and never find your way out. And then we found this pyramid. This was my favorite part. They put you on a hayride, and you get to take a hayride out to the pumpkin patch where you're allowed to pick pumpkins from. And it was quite picked over by the time we got there. But oh, by the way, usually Logan doesn't let me film him, but he said I could film him this day, so that was really nice. So here's the pumpkin patch, and so we didn't mind because we already have two huge pumpkins at home in our front window. I showed you guys those last week. Oh, look at poor Jacob. This is the point where he's like explained to all of us that he's discovered sometimes pumpkins have thorns on them.
This guy. It's kind of gorgeous.
It is. It's pretty perfect.
And it's not too big either.
Yeah. So what we were looking for in the pumpkin patch were still two pumpkins, one for Logan and one for Jacob, but we wanted them to be a little bit smaller than the ones that we had at home that we got from Sam's Club to make it easier for carving. So we were looking for like a medium-sized pumpkin, so a little bit smaller than what we currently had, but big enough to carve. And here are the two pumpkins we finally decided on. Then we're going to get back on the hayride and head back to the place where they had all the fun activities, and we ate dinner there. It was really nice. This field has like yellow and white pumpkins. I've never seen yellow pumpkins before. I've seen white, but I've never seen yellow. And then we also passed by several fields with full of big orange pumpkins, but I think those must be like for the grocery store because they weren't for us. So the last night that they were in town, I made this casserole from the Pioneer Woman, and it is the most delicious casserole I've ever had in my entire life, so I had to share it with you guys. I did adjust some of the ingredients, like the amount that she said to use, because in her original recipe there were some odd amounts where you only use like part of a package of something, and I wanted to use the full package of different things to just make my life easier. So I'm starting off by cooking 1.5 pounds of lean ground beef. I use 93% lean. You can use whatever kind you want. If you use a fattier amount, you just need to drain it well before you put it in the casserole. And then with the water that I'm boiling, I also added a little splash of vegetable oil and sprinkles of salt to help the noodles not stick together. This is the way I learned how to make pasta, and it always works great. The noodles don't stick together when I make it this way. So the package of noodles comes in a 12-ounce package, and she said to use 8 ounces of noodles. So that's where I decided I needed to change the recipe a little bit, because I'm going to use the whole bag of noodles. So I'm going to use the 12 ounces of noodles. Like the ground beef, she said to use 1.25 pounds of ground beef. So I upped it to 1.5 since I'm using a whole bag of noodles. And then I'm also going to increase a few other ingredients as well. So we'll get to that in just a moment. So here is the package of noodles that I used in this recipe, and as you could see, it was a 12-ounce bag. I just really didn't want to have like any leftovers like in the bag because I was afraid I wouldn't use it, so that's why I wanted to put it all together in this recipe. So as those things on the stove continue to cook, I'm going to go ahead and shred up my cheese. I'm using a block, which is 8 ounces of sharp cheddar cheese, and I'm using this grater that I got from Target a few years ago. I do love this grater, but I think, I don't know if I mentioned this in the last video, but I think I want to ask for it for Christmas. One of those kinds that like, you put it on the counter and then you spin it around with like a hand crank and it just like slices the cheese really fast. This is pretty fast, but I think that would be even better. So this is one thing I would do differently if I do make this again, which I'm going to do because like I said, it was the most delicious thing ever. But the original recipe called for that size of tomato sauce, the first can I showed you. So I got another like little extra one, but there is like one step larger that's like double the size of this one here, the one that I'm currently opening. There was one at the grocery store that was double this size, and I think next time I will just get that instead of getting this like medium sized one and the small one. I'll just get like one can of the large. I hope I explained that well. Yeah, I think that this recipe can definitely handle the extra tomato sauce, and then it would be easier so you don't have to buy 2 cans. You could just buy 1 can, and I believe the large can was 15 ounces. One thing I forgot to mention when I was doing the ground beef is I did add salt and pepper and some crushed red pepper as well, red pepper flakes as well. So that is already in the ground beef. So here I am adding the tomato sauce to the fully cooked ground beef, and like I said earlier, my ground beef was really lean, so I didn't need to drain it, but if yours is a little bit more fatty, you'll want to drain it before you add the tomato sauce to it. So it is time to drain the pasta, and then we are going to get everything mixed together in the pasta in a separate dish. So I grabbed a large mixing bowl for this next step. I am putting in all of the drained pasta. So this pasta is still like hot, which is awesome because the ingredients I'm going to add now are going to melt all together and it's going to smell absolutely delicious. So first of all, I'm adding an 8-ounce container of sour cream. This is a slight change from the original recipe. In the original recipe, she only wanted to use a portion of that container, and like I said, I like to just use the whole containers. It makes things a lot easier for me. So because I increased my amount of noodles, I was able to also increase the amount of sour cream and cottage cheese that I added. So I used the whole 8-ounce container of sour cream at this point. And then I used a whole 12-ounce container of cottage cheese. So in addition to the sour cream and the cottage cheese, I'm going to be adding the same seasonings that I added to the ground beef mixture, which was salt, pepper, and crushed red pepper flakes. Once I had all the seasonings added, then I just stirred everything together. And like I said, it smelled so good. At this point, I felt like I could just eat this pasta just how it was. I think it still would have tasted, I didn't taste it, but I think it would have been delicious just how it was. So this is called her sour cream casserole, and I think it's because of the sour cream in here. But it's funny because it is like a red casserole once you add the ground beef mixture to all this. So she said you could just add everything together at this point, stir everything together and put it in a casserole dish, but she likes to layer it. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to layer everything together. But before we get to that, there's one more ingredient to prep here, and that is the green onion. The green onions get sliced up into small pieces. Part of this green onion is going to get mixed into the pasta mixture there, and then I am going to save some of the green onions to put on top of the casserole at the very end as well. So here I am mixing the green onions into the pasta. Okay, it is time to add all the layers. So first I start with half of the noodles in the bottom of the pan. I did spray the pan. She didn't say to spray the pan, but I did just to be safe. I don't know if it's necessary or not, but it definitely made cleanup a lot easier. So I did end up adding a little more of the noodles because I didn't think I had added quite half. So I spread the layer of noodles, and then we're going to do a layer of ground beef and then a layer of cheese. So we're going to use about half the cheese. And then we're going to repeat the process and do a layer of noodles, a layer of ground beef mixture, a layer of cheese, and at the very end, I'm going to top the whole thing with some green onions. And here's what it looks like. Isn't it pretty? It's such a pretty casserole. So at this point, you just want to put it in the oven for 350 degrees for 20 minutes to melt everything together. Like I said, this was a huge hit with my family. I loved it. I think everyone loves it. So you should definitely give this one a try. As promised, here are all of the December planner packs that came out in the Etsy shop yesterday. I do have an Etsy shop called Life in Envelopes where I sell planner and budgeting stickers. And if you'd like to make a purchase, don't forget to use my code YouTube15 to save 15% on your order. I think I'm just going to play some nice music for you as we head out from the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you all again next time. Thanks for watching, everyone.